Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome back to another week in the weekly Parsha. Moving along Sefer PARSHAS, we're holding tonight by PARSHAS CHAYEI. And this is even though that we say that Avram Avinu had 10 nisyonis, he had 10 challenges in his life, he leaves the conquering of the greatest challenge of all, the Akedas Yitzchak, where he's supposed to shecht his son, in the end he doesn't, because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. We would think that perhaps after that, everything would be blissful in the life of Avram Avinu. Except he comes from the mountain, and he comes home only to find out that his beloved wife of must be 100 and something years has passed away. And he has an obligation now to bury her and take care of her, and he fulfills all of that. And the pasuk begins in this week's parsha speaking about the life and the death of Sarah. Vayiyu CHAYEI Sarah, and this was the life of Sarah. 100 shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim, 127 years. Shnei CHAYEI Sarah. These are the years in the life of Sarah. Now we know that the Torah never ever repeats itself. It never says an extra letter, certainly not an extra word, unless there's something that for all of eternity we have to learn from those extra words that the Torah says. And the Torah told us already, these are CHAYEI Sarah, this is the life of Sarah, 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. Shnei CHAYEI Sarah, these are the years in the life of Sarah. We know that already. This is the life of Sarah. She was 127 years old when she passed away. These are the years of the life of Sarah. We know that already. So why does the Torah have to repeat itself in the end of this verse over here and tell us, Shnei CHAYEI Sarah, these are the years in the life of Sarah? That's exactly what the verse has told us up until this moment. Says Rashi something startling. Shnei CHAYEI Sarah, the years in the life of Sarah, what is it coming to teach us? Kulon shavin l'toiva. All of the years in the life of Sarah were shavin equally l'toiva, for the good. Every year that existed in the life of Sarah Imenu's life, 100 years, 20 years, 7 years, 127 years, says Rashi, all of them were equally as good. You can't tell me that one year was better than the other, one day was better than the other. Every single day and year in the life of Sarah Imenu, equally as good. And the startling and the puzzling idea that Rashi is sharing with us is, we know that Sarah Imenu had a very troubling and difficult life. She was a barren woman for 90 years. She was abducted not once, but twice. Taken into captivity, didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Her husband is leading a battle against the entire universe. Everybody believes in Avodah Zarah and idol worship. Everyone's bowing down to idols and sun gods and moon gods and graven images. And Avram Avinu is on a campaign and he's on a mission to change the entire world. And they're going around all of the cities and all the neighboring villages and all of the countries, everywhere they could go. They're always moving and trying to accomplish and do. She has no children for 10 years. She takes her maidservant Hagar. Her first night, Hagar becomes pregnant. She begins teasing her, she makes fun of her, and on top of all that, she has an evil son, Yishmael. And Yishmael and Hagar are driving her crazy, she has to send them away. The life of Sarah, and then to find out at the end of the day, her husband takes her son. By the way, I'm just going to take Yitzchak and I, we're going to just go on a little journey up the mountain over there. We'll be back, don't worry. Okay, my dear, whatever you say. And they go up to the mountaintop, and he's about to shecht Yitzchak, and in the end he doesn't. But the messenger comes back and tells Sarah, did you hear what happened on the mountaintop? Your husband took the knife, he's about to shecht. And when she heard those words, that her husband was about to shecht her son Yitzchak, that child that she davened something like 70 years of her life for, that she was enjoying the last 37 years of her life with, when she heard that he died or almost died, she didn't get to hear the end of the story. Parcha nishmasa, her neshama left her, and she died, and she wasn't able to greet her husband and her son when they came back from the most monumental challenge that anybody in the history of the world ever went through before. Kulan shav l'taiva? Where was the goodness in the life of Sarah Imeinu? Oh, yes, it's true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did a miracle for her. And after being barren for 90 years, he recreated the reproductive organs in Sarah Imeinu. She began having a menstrual cycle again. And she didn't have a womb. Now she has a womb, and she has a baby boy. And besides that small, brief period in her life where things seemed to be going well, every other area of her life was challenge after challenge after challenge. Where in the world was the goodness in every single day? I remember years ago, Rav Pesach Kron was with us for a Shabbos, and he said, you know, it's very interesting when we bless our sons on Friday night, we say that you should be Ephraim Menashe. Should be like Ephraim and Menashe, and there's many reasons why that's the bracha. We don't say Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Ephraim and Menashe. These are the two boys that grew up in Egypt and they became tzaddikim. These are the two brothers that we have in the Torah, like the only two brothers that never fought with each other and they loved each other, even though with Yaakov changed the hands like this, and the younger one gets in front of the older one, but they always loved each other. And there was never fighting, and there was no jealousy. And we give our children a bracha on Friday night. You should be like Ephraim and Menashe. To our daughters, we give a bracha, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. We want you to be like the imachos, like the matriarchs of Klal Yisrael. What is the underlying theme of the life of all of the matriarchs? They all struggled incredibly in their lives. They all had many ups and downs and upheavals and difficulties and challenges on the run, showing wicked people after them, disappointments, frustrations. But they went through every single stage of their life, be'emunah shleim, with complete faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so we give our daughters a bracha Friday night. You should have the emunah of the imachos of your matriarchs, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Where in the world is the kulan shavin l'toiva? All of the years in the life of Sarah Imeinu, they were all equally as good. When she was 75 years old and didn't have children already for 60 years of marriage, that's just as great as when she gave birth to Yitzchak. When she was abducted by Paro and she doesn't know what's going to happen while she's there inside of the palace, that was just as good when she was sitting by the bris of Yitzchak Avinu. When Avimelech, the king, took her and abducted her once again, says Rashi, Kulan Shav, it's all so good, just as when she was by the bar mitzvah of her son Yitzchak. It was all, could you imagine her nachas? Her joy by the bar mitzvah. She didn't have any children. She waited all these years. She has a son who's a tzaddik. Now it's his bar mitzvah. She's standing there listening to him learn from the Torah. Wow, she says, look at the chesed of Hashem. Says Rashi, every single day in her life, equally. Kulan, shavin, l'taiva, every year, every day, every minute, all equally as good. Where's the great goodness in the life of Sarah Imeinu? The Torah tells us later on in this week's Parsha, the Avram Zaken. Avram was an old man, he's coming close to his final years. Ba Bayamim, he comes with Bayamim with his days. Vashem Beirach es Avraham Ba'kol, and Hashem blesses Avram with everything. The simple pshat, as we see in Rashi and other Mefarshim, is that he's getting older, he can't go travel now outside of Eretz Yisrael, he needs to find a wife for his son Yitzchak, so he sends Eliezer instead. I'm a zaken, I'm an old man, my time is coming to an end, I have a son, Baruch Hashem, Yitzchak, who's alive and well, he needs a good shidduch. Eliezer, you go and you go find a shidduch for my son. But the Zohar HaKadosh writes on this pasuk over here, Avram Zaken, he was an old man. Zikna is a sign of older years of wisdom and the like. Ba Bayomim, he came with all of his days in his hands. and he presented them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he says, Ribono Shel Olam, look at the life that I led. Look how I went from beginning until now, my zikna, my old age. Look how I went through every single day and every week and month and year of my life. Look what I did with my life. Look how I accomplished. Look how I behaved. Hashem beirach es Avram b'koil. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed him with everything. You're right, Avram. Every single day of your life, the way that you use it, the way that you elevated, the way that you made it something that counted, it's all bracha, everything that you went through and endured. And as we mentioned the last couple of weeks, there never was a man in the history of the world who went through as many nisyonos, as struggles and challenges, and even though that we count 10, like we're saying in the beginning of this week's Parsha, it's another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. It doesn't stop. And yet Avram said, look how I used my days, Hashem. Did I get down? Did I get frustrated? Did I complain? Did I argue with you? No. Here's my days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Look what I did. Every day was a treasure. Every day an opportunity. Every day was a chance for me to make myself better and grow and get closer to you. Here I am, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Beirach es Avraham b'koil. I'm blessing you with everything good in this world, and certainly everything good in the world to come. That's an Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu is the example, he's the dugma, he's the example of what it means to use the days of one's life in the right way. Now, Sari Imeinu was not only the wife of Avram, but she was the greatest Talmidah, she was the greatest student of Avram Avinu as well. And the Gemara, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos tells us the following. Kol mi sheyesh biyado shloisha davar malolo. Anybody who has these three character traits in their hands, mi talmidav shel Avram Avinu, they are from the students of Avram Avinu. If you can identify these three things in you, not one, not two, but all three, you are mi talmidav shel Avram Avinu, you are from the students of Avram Avinu in any generation. Not only when Avram was alive, but even today, in our lifetime, thousands of years later, you can call yourself a student of Avram Avinu. Ushloisha devar macherim, and three other things. If you have these bad traits, you're a student of Bilam Harasha. Says the Gemara, ayin toiva, says the Mishnah, ayin toiva, a good eye. V'ruach namucha, and humility. V'nefesh shvala, and a lowly spirit, which means you're not looking for too much enjoyment and pleasure in the physical things of this world. Mitalmidav shel Avram Avinu, you are guaranteed that you are a student of Avram Avinu. Ayin toiva, a good eye. The simple explanation in most of the Mefarshim, the commentators, is, what does it mean, a good eye? So it says, Mistapek b'ma sheyesh lo. I'm happy with what I have. Ve'eino choymid mamon achem. I'm not looking for what other people have. I'm not jealous of this one and of that one. He has a nicer house, nicer car, better family, better job. Doesn't bother me. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for me. I have an ayin toiv, I have a good eye. That's a simple explanation. My eye looks good at everybody else in the world, and I'm happy for them. And I'm happy with what I have as well. We had a very chashuv Talmid Chacham that was here this morning, Rabbi Moshe Cohen from Eretz Yisrael. And as I was about to leave the Beis Midrash to go and give a shir, he's like, Yesh daka achad. You have 1 more minute? So I thought he's going to ask me for a very large donation. And he says, I was on the plane, and I was thinking about this Mishnah over here. Ayin toiva. What does it mean, the ayin toiva of Avram Avinu? What does it mean? And the whole drasha, but the yesod of that drasha was, the ayin toiva, the good eye of Avram Avinu, was that he was able to see the good in everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for him. Every nisayon in his life, every challenge, every difficulty, every hardship, all of the pain, all that he had to endure and go through in his life, Ayin Toiva, the eye that he had was, I always see that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing, it's all good. Like the famous words of Rabbi Akiva, Kol the Ovid Rachmana Litav Ovid, everything that Hashem does is good. This is not tongue-in-cheek. That's why the Gemara says over there, La'olam chayev adam loymar. A person is always obligated to say the following words in every situation that happens in their life. Kol, everything, the Ovid Rachmana that Hashem does, Litav Ovid is all for the good. Rachmana, the language that we use in the Gemara when we describe Hashem, Rachmana is the language of Rachmanas, of mercy. Everything the merciful one does, it's all good. Says the Mishnah over here, you know what makes you one of the students of Avraham Avinu? When you have an ayin toiva, you have a good eye. What does a good eye mean? I see the good in everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for me. Sari Imeinu was from the greatest Talmidim. She's probably the closest and the best of the students of Avram, her husband. I'm just reading this book on Rav Matizyahu Solomon. His wife, the Rebbitzin, was a very chashva lady herself, but she always said, I'm my husband's greatest Talmidah, his greatest student. Certainly Sari Imeinu was the greatest student of Avram. And she learned from her husband. She would watch him in every single situation. Bo Bayomim, he came with all the days in his hand, a whole year, his whole life. And he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look what I did with my life. Look how I took every situation and I made the best out of that situation. How did he do that? Ayin Toiva. He did it with a good eye, which means he saw the good in everything that Hashem did. And that's possibly why the rest of the Mishnah says, what are the other two outstanding qualities of Avraham Avinu? Number one is Ruach Namucha, great humility. A humble person realizes that I cannot understand everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing. A humble person realizes that there's a much greater power outside of myself called the Rabbi. He's running the world in the way that he sees is the best way to run the world. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything. I'm very, very small and tiny. Hashem is infinite, I am finite. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all-knowing, I am mugbal, I am limited. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all-powerful, I have limited power. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing this in my life right now, so then in my great humility, I'm able to see with my ayin toiv, with my good eye, it's all for the best. Everything that Hashem does, it's all good. And the third trait of Avraham Avinu is nefesh shefala, which means I don't have burning, strong desires for all of the taivas, for all of the things here of the physical world. I'm not running after this money and after this pleasure and after this place. I don't need all of that. I'm happy to be a very simple person. I'm happy to be a low-key person. I'm happy with all the things that I have in my life. That's good enough for me. And therefore, however HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates my life and sends things my way, I'm low enough, I'm humble enough, I'm simple enough that it strengthens the ayin toiv, the good eye that Avraham Avinu had, which allowed him to see the good in everything. There was just this tremendous asifa of all the Gedolei Yisrael that came to Los Angeles, and the speaker of the night, the main speaker I believe was Ephraim Waxman. And he told over an amazing story about the PARSHAS, the simplicity of the way that the Talmidei Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael are living their lives. And he told over that there was an elite kollel, and a very wealthy man came through to see and examine these avrechim, these young men that were sitting and learning, ba'asmada Rabbi, tremendous diligence. And he was so impressed by their sincerity and their kedusha, their holiness. He said to the Rosh Kollel there, he says, these people are probably very poor. Yes, they don't have much. He says, you know, Yom Tov is coming up. I assume that many of them could probably use new furniture. So he said, I'd like to make an offer to your entire kollel. I will be happy to provide new furniture. They have 25 men that are learning. For all 25 Avrechim in the kollel, I will furnish their homes with brand new furniture. So it'll be a nice, beautiful Yom Tiv. The wives will come in and see the new table and chairs, the new beds, the new couch. I would like to buy that for them. Rosh Kollel said, okay, I'll ask them if they want. So he asked them if they want. Who doesn't want a new furniture in their house? So Rosh Kollel says, fine, let me ask them and I'll get back to you, I'll tell you who wants. So a day later, the Rosh Kollel calls up this very wealthy man and he says, I went to all of the Avrechim, all the young men learning in my kollel, all 25 of them. And I told them, Yom Tov is coming. I'm sure that all of you have dilapidated furniture in your house, old chairs, old tables, old couches and beds. He said there's a wealthy man from America who's so impressed with your learning, he wants to give you an entirely new furniture in your house. Would you like? And so the Rosh Kollel says to this wealthy man, I'm sorry to tell you that I asked all 25 of them, and all 25 of them said, we're fine. We don't need any new furniture. We're just fine the way that we are. Because when a person is what's called in the Mishnah, v'nefesh shvala, he has a lowly spirit, the new couch and the new furniture and the new bedding, it doesn't matter to him. He's got something much greater than that, and that is Torah and mitzvahs and his ultimate connection to Hashem. And therefore those things are not of interest in his mind. Says the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, someone that has these three qualities, the ayin tova, the good eye, he sees the good in everything Hashem does, and he's humble and lowly of spirit, Talmida shel Avram Avinu. You are a student of Avram Avinu. Sarah Imeinu was the greatest student of all time of her husband Avram. And therefore she encapsulated this message, and that's why Rashi is telling us in the very beginning of the Parsha, Shnei CHAYEI Sarah, these are the years in the life of Sarah Imeinu, Kulan Shavin L'Taiva, with her ayin taiva, with her good eye. She was able to see everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. It's all for the best, it's all good. The Ramchal writes, in the Mesilas Yesharim, in the first chapter, which is the Choivas Ha'adam Ba'olamai, a person's obligation in the world. Really, Olama means in his world, everybody has their own personal obligation in their world. What I have to do is not what you have to do. And what you should accomplish, I don't have to accomplish. And what your mission is not my mission. And my goals are not your goals. Everybody has Olam, has their own private world with the Ribbono Shel Olam. Says the Ramchal, we learn from all that we have spoken about up until this point. Ki ikar mitzias ha'adam ba'olam. The main mitzias, the main reality and the essence of a person in this world, ba'olam hazeh, in this world, the physical world that we live in, hurak l'kayim mitzvahs, it's for three things. To be mekayim mitzvahs, to fulfill the mitzvahs, that's why you came here. You can't do mitzvahs in that world over there. You can't do mitzvahs when you're just a neshama sitting in the world and the neshama's waiting for a chance to come down here. You can only do mitzvahs in Olam Hazeh, in this world. Such a bad place, this world. So many terrible things that are going on. Says the Ramchal, what could be better? You have a world that you could do mitzvahs, you could put on tefillin, you could keep Shabbos, you could give tzedakah, you could make a bracha on your food. When you leave this world and you ascend to the next world, no more brachas, no more tzitzis, no more tefillin, no more Shabbos, no more matzah on Pesach, no more spending your money on Jewish education. You can't do that in the world to come. Only in this world over here. That's why we know this famous story with the Vilna Gaon. He was on his deathbed and he began bemoaning his plight that he was leaving this world. And people said, Rabbeinu, there's no one like you in the history of the world. You're going to go up to Shemayim. The reward is going to be enormous. What are you complaining about? What are you worrying about? And he lifted up his tzitzis and he said, for in this world, for a few kopecks, you can do the mitzvah of tzitzis. In that world, with all of its glory and all of its dveikis, it's close to the Shekhinah, there's not a single mitzvah that you could do. Says the Ramchal, you came to this world, number one, l'kayim mitzvahs, to keep the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch has given us. Number two, v'la'avoid, to serve Hashem. And the diuk over here in these two words is, I would have thought that if I'm doing mitzvahs, if I'm keeping Shabbos, I'm davening every single day, I'm putting on my tefillin and my tzitzis, I'm making brachas, I keep Yom Tov, I would have thought I'm serving Hashem. But the Ramchal says, you could actually do everything. You could keep all 613 mitzvahs to a T, and you could still not be serving Hashem. Your heart could not be in it. You could still be begrudgingly waking up every single morning, I got to go to shul, the rabbi said we don't have a minyan, we need your help. Every single day that I have to say, bracha, I'm in a rush, I don't have time to bench. Oh, I have to bench, okay, I have no choice, I have to bench. But when a person puts their heart and their soul into it, then the mitzvahs that you're keeping, you're la'avoid, you begin serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not enough just to do the mitzvahs. It has to be with service of Hashem. And the last thing that a person does is v'la'amoid b'nisayon. I was placed in this world to be oimed, to stand strong and tall and with conviction and commitment to overcome the nisyonos, the challenges that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has placed me in my life. If you're ever walking around throughout the day and you're wondering, what in the world am I doing here? What's it all about? What is the point? You just keep these three things in your mind from the Ramchal and you'll never go wrong. I'm here to do mitzvahs, because this is the only place I can do mitzvahs. I'm here to serve Hashem, which means I give Him my all in the mitzvahs that I do, and that's amunah and bitachon and working on my midos and everything. And lastly, if I will encounter, or when I will encounter a nisayon, I have to be oimid, I have to overcome that challenge. That is the purpose of life. This is the life of Sarah Imenu. Sarah Imenu was a woman that was married to the greatest man of the generation. And we know that Avraham Avinu, he kept Kol HaTorah Kula, all of the mitzvahs in the Torah, even before the Torah was given, Avraham kept it. They were mitzvah keepers. Because in this world you can do mitzvahs. Today is the day of doing and performing. In the world to come you'll receive the reward. She kept mitzvahs. And number two, she was la'avoid. They were serving Hashem in everything they did. That's what you find throughout the life of Avraham and Sarah. There was tremendous avodas Hashem, service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, leiv benefesh, with the heart and the soul, doing what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. And lastly, as we said, who had a rougher and a tougher life than Sarah Imenu? Not sure that many other women in this history of the world ever had. But she was an oimed b'nisayon. She was able to stand up and overcome every test. Where did she learn this from? She was a devout Talmidah, the student of her husband, Avraham Avinu. This was the life of Avram. This was the life of Sarah. And when you have the ayin taiva, you have the good eye that's able to see the good in every little thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. When you're able to understand what you don't understand, but it's coming from Hashem, and let me work to see how it's good, why it's good, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing such a thing to me, what does He want from me? Then a person is able to reach levels that they never reached before. I saw a Maisa recently about a Hasidic Yid from America who went to Eretz Yisrael. I think it was for the Yomim Neroyim, and he went to one of his Rebbe that was there, and he told him, I was in Eretz Yisrael, I got a big chizuk, I got very excited, very uplifted and everything. And he said, I'm going to go back to America. How do I hold on to what I gained over here? So the Rebbe told me, you have to be makabel, you have to take something upon yourself. So he said, well, what should I take upon myself? So he told him, you should accept upon your, he asked him, he says, do you go to the mikveh every day? Now, a good chassid goes to the mikveh every day. But he was honest with the Rebbe and he says, I don't. I try, but I don't. So he says, I want you to be makabel on yourself. I want you to accept upon yourself that every day, rain or shine, weekday, Shabbos, Yom Tov, no matter what day it is of the year, I want you to accept upon yourself, you're going to go to the mikveh. You work in business, you work downtown in New York, you have a lot of travels, you come in contact with a lot of different people, you need to cleanse yourself, you need the Kedusha. I want you to go to the mikveh every single day. And the chassid said, okay, I will. And sure enough, for like a year, this man is doing it every day, rain or shine, weekday, Shabbos, Mincha, every day. The following year in the month of Elul, one day he wakes up and he looks at his alarm. He missed his alarm. Shem Yirachim. He missed his whole morning Seder, which means getting up, going to the mikveh, going to shul, catching the train, and heading down to downtown Manhattan. He jumps out of bed, flies down the stairs, runs to the minyan he can get to the quickest, davens a quick shachris, jumps onto the train, and heads down to Manhattan. While he's on the train, he says, Shem Yirachim, I forgot to go to the mikveh. Now you know how it works when you have to be at work, but you have to do some mitzvah. You start always making games in your head over here. Look, I went to the mikveh every other day. Maybe I'll find a way to come back at night. No, it's not going to be. You see what? A Kabbalah is a Kabbalah. I accepted to go to the mikveh. I accepted to go to the mikveh. I have to. He gets off at the next stop. He gets back on a train heading back to Borough Park, wherever he lives. He jumps off the train in Borough Park, runs to the mikveh, goes into the mikveh, drives himself off, gets out of the mikveh, comes back to the subway, and gets onto the train, heading now downtown Manhattan. And as the train is traveling, suddenly it comes to a screeching halt, as did all of New York on that day of 9/11, where this man worked in the Twin Towers, and his office was decimated in the crash of the Twin Towers. Because a mitzvah and a Kabbalah and what you accept upon yourself and the challenges and the struggles and the avodas Hashem, that's why we came into this world. And a person that does those three things, you'll never, ever lose out in your life. Sari Meinu, who we bless our daughters like every Friday night that they should be like her. We should have in mind the kavanah should be kulan shavin l'taiva. I want that my daughter should see that everything that Hashem does, it's all good. Sari Meinu had a miserable life, but everything was just as good as when she heard from the malachim, you're going to have a child. Everything was just as good as when that baby was born and they made a bris and they made a bar mitzvah and her son is learning Torah in yeshiva and he's doing so great, and Avram's coming home every day. He says, wow, you don't know, this boy knows, he's a genius, he knows everything. The nachas of that mother, just as when she was taken captive and abducted by Avimelech, and it was probably a harrowing experience, it was cool on Hashem because everything that Hashem does is good. When we live our lives like that, when we have what's called the ayin taiva, the eye that sees, the humble spirit, the humility and the lowly spirit that doesn't want too much of this world, so then we're able to realize there's a Rebbeinu Shalom who's running the world. I'm just one little piece in the whole larger picture from the beginning of time until now and beyond. And therefore, whatever Hashem does, He has a reason. He has a plan. I'll try my best to figure it out. Kulan shavin l'toiva. Everything that Hashem does, it's good. A person who lives like this, that means everything in their life is good. No matter what is happening, no matter what is going on, no matter how stressful, how painful, no matter what, Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does in their life, it's all good, Hashem. Because Ein Ra Yored Min HaShamayim, no evil and bad comes down from Shamayim, from the heavens. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of everything that comes to this world, and Hashem is Kulo Tov, He's all good. So that means everything that is happening in a person's life, it's all for the best. It's all good. And like we spoke about on Shabbos, from the famous words in the Nesiv Shalom over there, everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is putting me through in my life is so that I should come to fulfill my destiny, my mission, and the great goals that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in mind for me to accomplish and to achieve. I want to leave you off with one last mice over here. A story that I just saw just recently. And it goes back to a very ordinary day on the Israeli highways. I don't know if there's such a thing as an ordinary day on the highways of Israel, because anybody that's ever seen what goes on, it's you have to be you have to have a lot of confidence to drive on those highways. And there was an Avreich, a young guy in Koilel. He's driving his Kollel car, which we call them in America the Yeshiva Shikar. Doesn't always work so great, but it's working good enough to get along the highway. And there's a very fancy sedan up ahead that's not going so fast. And so this Avreich, this Kollel fellow, he decides that he wants to pass the expensive and fancy sedan. And so he starts inching up towards the sedan, and he's trying to get around the side of it, and this sedan sees this Avreich in the car, and he starts speeding up. And every time that the Avreich tries to go past, he starts speeding up even more. And it gets to the point where there's going to be like some, road rage going on. The guy in the sedan almost drives the Avreich off the side of the road. And the next thing you know, they get off, I guess, and they're at a stop sign, at a light. And the Avreich is sitting in his car, and the guy in the sedan is there, and the next thing he knows, the fellow in the sedan gets out of his car, he walks over to the car of the Avreich, he opens up the door of the man's car, and he punches him right in the face. He's in rage, he's angry. This guy, who does he think he is? And this little jalopy car is going to push me off the road. And it was a very hard punch. A very, very hard punch. And he composes himself, and he's in excruciating pain, and he begins thinking to himself, what should I do? Do I fight back? Do I call the police? Do I call Albert and Hatzalah? What do I do right now? So right away, this is a man that's worked on his emunah throughout the years. And he says to himself, there's no pain, there's no injury, and there's nothing that is not decreed from above. Everything comes from Hashem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you let this man strike me in the face, it must be because he was sent to me as a messenger. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there would have been a worse fate for me. Maybe my car was supposed to go off the side of I don't know. But there must be a reason why you did this, because everything is from Hashem. At that moment, after he's mechazik himself in his world of amun and bitachon, he does something that nobody ever would have expected. He gets out of his car, face is still throbbing in pain, and he walks over to this big burly man in the sedan. And he says, Achi, my dear brother, he says, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that when I would try to overtake you on the road, you thought I was slighting your kavod, your honor. He said, honestly, I never imagined that overtaking you on the road would make you so angry. He says, clearly, he says, if you stopped your car and you got out and you hit me the way that you did, it must be that I caused you a deep amount of pain. So please, he says, please be meichel me, please forgive me for making you angry and causing you pain. You understand what's going on over here? This guy just punched him in the face. He's maybe twice his size. And the Avreich is going and he's apologizing. I got you angry. Please forgive me. The man is standing there frozen in shock. He thinks the guy is joking. What is this religious Jew talking about over here? You're asking me forgiveness? I just socked you in the face. But he doesn't finish. He says, please, I need you to forgive me with a leiv shalom, a complete heart. And he says, in order for me to have peace of mind, please do me a favor. I'm inviting you to come to my house for Shabbos. Okay? Now this man is not religious. No yarmulke, nothing. Please, you come to my house for Shabbos. My wife will cook delicious food. We'll have such a nice time together. I'll know that you're not upset with me. It'll give me such menuchas hanefesh, such peace of mind. Please, come to my house for Shabbos this week. And the man starts arguing. And then the Avreich says, it's already decided. You are going to join me and my family for Shabbos. Can I please have your telephone number? And he doesn't want to give him the numbers. Please. You're coming. I need to call you. I want to give you all the instructions, directions, where we live. Finally, the man acquiesces. He gives him the number. Several days later, the phone rings of this big burly man in his sedan. And it says, Avreich. And he says, we're so excited. My wife is cooking the most tasty treats. My kids are so excited. We're going to have a choshev, a guest like you. I have a guest room waiting for you with a bed. Everything is waiting. We can't wait to see you. Here's my address. Candlelighting is this time. Please join us. We can't wait to have you. Comes Friday afternoon in this quiet, frum neighborhood in Israel. This big fancy sedan pulls up and a guy gets out of the car with a little tiny yarmulke perched on his head, holding his suitcase, and he's walking down and he's looking at the building and he finds the building where he's supposed to go. All of the people are peering out the window. They see this guy. Who is this guy? What's going on? And they see him come in to the house, the apartment of this Avreich. And everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. The guy walks in. They open the door right away. He's met by the aroma, the challah, the chicken soup, the chicken, the potatoes, the babka, the chocolate cakes. And the Avreich says, Achi, my dear brother, he comes, he gives him a big hug. Thank you so much for coming. The little kids of this Avreich are coming over. Hi, how are you? Shalom Aleichem, welcome to our house. We're so happy that you're here. The wife comes, she's introduced herself nicely. The guy's floored. He's never seen anything like this before. And he's looking around the apartment. If anybody knows the small, little apartments of an Avreich in Eretz Yisrael, bare white walls, small little rooms, furniture old and rickety. And there are svarim, there are bookshelves from the bottom to the ceiling covered with svarim. And the man's coming from a much richer, much decadent world. But he feels in this house there's something special that he never experienced before. There's a simcha, there's a joy. There's a purity, a wholesomeness. They go to shul, they come back, they're singing Zmira songs by the Shabbos table. The conversation is flowing throughout the night. The father and the mother, how they speak to each other with such honor, such respect, such love, such shalom, such peace. The kids are joining in the conversations and they're asking questions and they're talking about Hashem and about Amun and about the Parsha, and the father's joking around with them. There's such simcha, such pleasantness in this house, and the man is overwhelmed. And by the end of those 26 hours of that Shabbos, this big burly man that once punched this fellow in the face is a transformed human being. And after Havdalah is over, he stands up and in a very shaky voice, he says, I need to first apologize. I can't believe that I punched you in the face. And instead of giving you back a punch in my face, you gave me Shabbos. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. Your wife, your children, the family, the Kedusha, the radiance, the glory, the happiness, the joy. I didn't even know that life could be like this. There's so much more that I have to learn. And you got me started. A few weeks later, this fellow goes and he enrolls himself in an Arachim seminar. Arachim is the biggest kiruv organization in Eretz Yisrael. And by the end of the seminar, the man stands up and he announces, I'm leaving my secular ways behind. I'm becoming a full-fledged Baal Tshuva. And a few more weeks go on, and the man is already busy with tefillin, he's busy with davening, he's busy with changing his house into kosher, everything. And he calls his friend the Avrech. And he says, my dear friend, I can never thank you enough for the journey that you've set me on in my life. I can never thank you enough for showing me your love and your care and your concern and how you responded to my punch in the face. He said, I want you to know I'm becoming a Baal Tshuva, I'm becoming frum, and I am so indebted to you for showing this to me in my life. He said, listen to me. I'm a very wealthy man. Hashem has blessed me with a wonderful parnasa. I make a lot of money. I understand that there's something called Yisachar and Zvulun, which means the one that has the money supports the one that's learning Torah. So he said, for everything that you've done for me, I'm now going to give back to you. From now on, I want you to know, expect every month a handsome check that will come in the mail that will support you and your wife and your children comfortably. And you, my friend, just sit and keep learning Torah and being the Kiddush Hashem that you are in this world. This Avrech goes to Kolo the next day. And he tells his friends, you have to hear this story. And he tells them the whole story, trying to cut him off, getting punched in the face, how he dealt with him, brought him for Shabbos. The guy's becoming frum now, and now he's supporting him in Kolo. He says, when you have Amunah, and you have Bitachin in Hashem, and you have the ayin toiva that you see that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is good, he says, I want you to know that on that particular day while I was driving around, I was quite anxious because I don't have any money to my name. And I was beginning to wonder, how can I continue learning in Kollel? How can I sit and learn when we have no money to pay the bills and put food on the table? I need to go get a job. And I was asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, what do you want from me? You want me to learn? Or you want me to go to, what do you want from me? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends me a punch in the face. And from that punch in the face, I end up making a new friend. And I have the schus to bring him into the world of Torah and the mitzvahs. And on top of all of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent me the salvation. This man is now my partner. And he sends me a check every month that me and my wife and my kids, we could live and I could sit and learn Torah. Says Rashi, Shnei CHAYEI Sarah, Kulan Shavin L'Toiva, every single year, every day, equally as good. Why? Because when you have an ayin toiva, when you have a good eye and you see the good in life, you know that everything Hashem does, call the Rahman L'Tav Avid, then you will see good around you everywhere. And like Avraham Avinu himself said, Ribbono shel Olam, here are all the days of my life. I use them the way that you wanted to. Number one, l'kayim mitzvos. Number two, la'avay, to serve you. And number three, la'amay b'nisayin, to stand and pass all of the tests of life. And in that zechus, Avraham Avinu dies b'seva toiva, in satisfaction and goodness, and totally fulfilled in his life. In Yetz Hashem, we should live lives ourselves where we're mechazik, we strengthen the ayin toiva. If you need to go to the optometrist and get your eyes checked out, go and take care of it immediately. The Torah is our optometrist. Musar is the optometry. It's the glasses that we have, being mechazik in amun and bitachon. It's the 20/20 vision that allows us to see all the things in our life in the right way. And in that zechus and Yetz Hashem, as Sarah Imeinu goes down in history as one of the greatest women of all time, who was always able to see the good, may we ourselves, Be'ez Hashem, go down in the history of our lives, Ad Mei V'Esim Shana, and be people of ayin tova, of the good eye, that recognizes and sees and understands that everything that Hashem does, kulon, all of things, everything, shav and the tova, it's all equally good.